Look at sugar and look at the uncertainty that visits the future of sugar. No pun intended, but look at the government trying to offload the sugar industry, and even that offloading is becoming a dismal failure. Government does not know what to do in relation to sugar. And government knows what it is doing in relation to non-sugar agriculture. And we know that story. We know the story in which a Minister of Agriculture sits by and watches agricultural lands being converted to cement. But that is another debate for another day. We are speaking of the decline of various sectors that otherwise would have gone towards repaying loans, not new loans. Let the people of Barbados understand, this is no joke. This is no place for laughter. I know you can go to the tents this weekend and laugh and dance. A lot of you can dance. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. But good dancers are clearly not always good managers of economies. Manufacturing. Little or no incentive given to manufacturing in this country, so government can no longer depend on manufacturing. And that is why the people of Barbados need to understand that the reason we are taking these loans for developmental projects is because all of our industries, our major industries, have declined under this omniscient government. Under this omniscient government. And so when the honorable member begins by criticizing a previous government for the prudence of canceling a loan, it is a decision, my friends. It is a decision that is made, and it is to be made by a good manager. Do I take this loan or don't I take it at the time when it is contemplated? But this government finds it impossible to refuse loans, and this government is finding it impossible to refuse loans because this government is possibly broke. This government is possibly broke. Tell the people of Barbados why every fortnight you are borrowing money. Tell the people of Barbados that. Every householder knows that you have to borrow money often and repeatedly if you have a cash flow problem. You don't borrow yourself into doomsday. Let this government tell the people of Barbados how far this country is from financial doomsday. Let this government, in a moment of candor, tell the people of this country that the tourism receipts are not able to pay the loans, and that the receipts from international business are not enough to pay the loans, and that the receipts from agriculture are definitely not enough to pay the loans, and that manufacturing, hobbling as it is, definitely not enough to pay the loans. Does that not make sense to the people of Barbados? Are we going to, not we, is this government, through this parliament, intending to come here every fortnight and make an excuse for deepening indebtedness? It makes sense now to conclude that the government is continuing to take loans because of the financial peril of this country. It makes sense for the people of this country to conclude that this government every fortnight is borrowing money to pay previous loans and making a claim that the new loan is for some developmental project. Comey stands as evidence that that loan had absolutely nothing to do with cricket development. But the people of Barbados are entitled to ask, where's that $50 million? It certainly was not spent at Kensington. And $5 million of it certainly was not spent in Oistins, Something, according to Shakespeare, is rotten in the state of Denmark. I beg Shakespeare to add Barbados to that. Something is rotten in this Republican state of Barbados. And the people want to know. And the rottenness reflects itself in the perilous financial state in which this country finds itself. And crop over now becomes the season to obscure the peril. No amount of revelry and festivity must now be allowed to cloud and to obscure the perilous financial state in which this country now finds itself. We are in trouble. We are in trouble. And as I said before, and I repeat, every householder, even the most unsophisticated householder, knows that frequent trips to the bank and the credit union is evidence of a household that is in peril, and that you are merely postponing doomsday. This country, under this government, is postponing doomsday, and I want the people of Barbados to know this. And I spoke before of this government's, the myth. This government is riding on a myth. And this is not politicking here. This is not about political speeches any longer. This is about a reality that becomes more and more obvious every day, that we are skating on thin ice in summer. These frequent trips to the banks indicate that we are skating on thin ice in the summer. What is this government going to do? When autumn comes, another loan to repay an earlier loan? Well, I will give further evidence against this government. Around 2021, the government announced that it borrowed $120 million from the European Investment Bank to convert Harrison's Point to a hospital. $120 million from the European Investment Bank. Tell the people of Barbados, where has that $120 million gone? Let me repeat. Tell the people of Barbados, where has that $120 million gone? Further to an announcement by the government that it was to convert Harrison's Point to a hospital. Is there a hospital down there now? And what is the future of that hospital? And what of the recent news reports as to the destiny of that property? Something is rotten in this Republican state of Barbados. These loans are not being accounted for, but this is the season of festivity, of revelry, and perhaps the people will not pay attention to what this government is doing during this season of festivity. I refer to the Comey loan as evidence as to how this government is conducting the financial affairs of this country. And while I do that, though, let me pause and remind the people of Barbados of something that this government thinks that we have forgotten. That with all these loans, Barbados' credit rating is still at speculative grade or junk bond status. So that when these pretty words are spoken as to how well we are doing, when everybody knows we are not doing well.
It would be better if you tone down.
You're hearing me too well, sir. I want to be heard well. But I apologize for the state of your ears, sir.
Right. The tone, sir.
I have been told to ignore certain people who tell lies in court. So may I press on, sir? Good. So that let the people of this country be aware that Barbados's credit rating is still at speculative grade or junk bond status. And said in here, that does not amount to perjury. Said in here, it does not amount to perjury. Indeed, it is the truth. Said in here, it does not amount to perjury.
Honorable member, that has no part in this debate.
No, I'm saying what I'm saying here.
Honorable member.
But I'm addressing you, sir.
Yes, sir, but what?
I'm addressing you, sir.
That is not applicable in this chamber over which I rule. End of story, honorable member.
End of story. I am addressing you, sir, and I will hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, too. So let us, Your Honor, look at aspects of this loan. But let me go back, though, and remind the people of Barbados that they are intended to ask this government what happened to the $120 million taken from the European Investment Bank to convert Harrison's at North Point into a hospital. And in the aftermath of certain reports, what has become of those plans? So you see the point we're making, sir? That is rhetorical. You don't answer from there. We're speaking to the people through you, sir. Because this government is so wise, and wisdom involves honesty. And this government tells the people of Barbados that these loans are taken as part of honest enterprises. This one today, they tell you they're going to pick toilets in town and various parts of town, and they're going to fix the infrastructure and the water and so on. 7 years later. Well, 4 years later. 4 years later. You're going to shut them up, sir? You hearing me? How many people you hear, sir?
I express
right here,
parliamentary deafness to certain things. Not judicial, parliamentary deafness.
You know what he spoke? I sat here and I recorded and wrote what he was saying. I love to hear him, you know. There's something charming about him. And particularly when he does his dialectal indulgence. It is very charming, except that I do not interrupt him. And he is decent enough now to feel embarrassed that he has interrupted me, so I will forgive him and move on.
I didn't hear it. I remember did not hear the honorable member for Essential interruption. I hear you saying mouse. I hear you adding mouse. I hear you using mouse. I heard the honorable member using mouse. He did not interrupt you. He said nothing about the honorable member for Christ. Say nothing. To or about.
Why are you getting this, sir? He laughing and I laughing. Why are you getting in this?
Because I am empowered to so do.
He laughing and I laughing. So, Your Honor, I won't ask on another occasion what happened to the $120 million that these gurus got from the European Investment Bank to build a hospital at Harrison's Point in St. Lucie. We will not ask that again. Because by now the government, through the honorable member for Christchurch East Central, has the answer. He's digging into his bag. There's an answer down at the bottom of his bag, and he will take it out very shortly. And when he speaks again, he will, I don't know if it's a red bag though. They walk around with red bags. He is going to disclose that answer this evening. As for this loan, we're going to ask him, he's the leading technocrat in here, what will be the foreign exchange conversion costs. And we've already dared him to say, even in the absence of his superior within the ministry, what are the commissions to be paid? Since these, as I said before, this question of a commission paid, generous commission, we speculate, is not a part of a private transaction. This is a public matter, and the people of Barbados are being asked to repay this loan together with the commissions paid. But there is a question that perspicacious economists will also ask. This government previously pledged to do its borrowing when it could on the domestic market and to avoid the obvious disadvantage of foreign borrowing. Foreign borrowing. But it seems, Your Honor, that this government has encountered problems on the domestic market. It seems that way. Now, all governments, I think, and certainly governments in this part of the world, in these open economies, open and vulnerable, would obviously wish to pursue domestic borrowing over foreign borrowing. I mean, the advantage is obvious. And this government at the time, I think it was last year even, made that pledge that where the domestic market was available, it would pursue the domestic market. But here it is, in the space of weeks, off goes the government again to the international market to borrow foreign monies. This is an opportunity for the government to disclose to the people of Barbados whether it is encountering problems on the domestic market. In other words, is the domestic market unwilling to lend government money? And if the domestic market is unwilling to lend government money, is this the reason that government has to cross the border, go to the international market and borrow money at a very high price? 8% is high. Now today it is 3.5%, I think. But of course, within the Saudi resources, this loan to Barbados is probably forgettable from their perspective. From their perspective. So this is a slight matter. This is a trifle within the Saudi financial complex. For us, it is not, though. Close to $100 million is not a trifle for us. Borrowed, as it is on the foreign market, it means that we have to raise foreign exchange to repay it. But the question is asked, is this to tell us, is this breach of government's commitment to resort to the local market when it becomes available, is that an indication that the domestic market has lost confidence in the government? Possibly. Because the domestic market would have a closer eye on this government and on this economy. In other words, they know what is happening in this economy. They know why purchasing domestically may be down. Just as an example, they will know that the economy is possibly, quite possibly, contracting. They may know that unemployment is rising in spite of government's insistence that it is at 6%. Most people in most villages don't believe that because they're seeing evidence to the contrary. They're seeing evidence to the contrary. And they know that if there are 100 young people in their village, far more than 6 are unemployed. They know that. So we, on the other hand, don't know how government is pursuing its statistics. But we want to suggest that the government needs to be candid with the people of Barbados and say to the people of Barbados what really is the truth. And the truth is that it seems as if the local market has lost confidence in the government, and that government has to chase off behind international lenders who impose high rates of interest on this country, 8%, although today, as I said, for a Saudi trifle, it is a mere 3.5%. But something is rotten in this Republican state of Barbados. Now, the Honorable Member for St. Thomas, when she spoke today and said that she had never seen a society fall apart in this way, she said that today. And Barbados will be grateful to the Honorable Member for St. Thomas for breaking ranks and telling the truth about the state of the society in which she lives. But of course, I will not want to say to the Honorable Member for St. Thomas that she was referring to economic matters. She was referring to the society. But we will remind her that the two are joined one with the other. You do not discuss the economy unless you discuss the society, and vice versa, because they're inextricably tied one to the other. In fact, people will tell you, some social scientists will tell you that there really is no difference. There really is no difference, because at the heart of society and economy is the need to eat. And you cannot live unless you eat. So that you don't partition a society away from the economy. That is done as an academic convenience. But there's a sense in which it is one and the same thing. But you have specialties and disciplines, and you will separate them. But the point is that the Honorable Member for St. Thomas must be congratulated for her perspicacious assessment of Barbados today, when she said, I have never seen a society fall apart in this way. I hope she's not punished. I hope she's not punished for that disclosure. The Honorable Member for St. Thomas cannot withdraw it now. It was said, and we noted it. And she described her parish under the treatment of this government as Los Tomas. I chose today not to speak on that matter. I wanted to speak on this one, and to get to the heart of the matter, that this economy is in perilous trouble. The Honorable Member for Christchurch East Central does not complete a speech unless he issues condemnation of previous administrations. But if this administration is to be accused of heavy borrowing, it is not a new habit. Because when the Honorable Member was well employed elsewhere, his beloved government was committing this country to edutech and the millions upon millions of dollars that it cost this country. And one day, some social scientists will give us an accounting of the benefits of edutech to this country. A previous government that in dubious arrangements committed this country to the very expensive building of a prison. And it was said then, and since then, that the costs were suspiciously high. Of course, there's the Greenland landfill. I don't know if it is operational. I don't think it is. Then, of course, there was the 3S ABC Highway scandal. So that when we look back, and we look farther back than the period with which the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central remains preoccupied, we will hold his hand and take him a little farther back, not far back, not into the Middle Ages, but into the ages when an administration heavily committed the people of Barbados to loans, so that there's nothing new really with the present expedition, except that we're not living in the past, we're alive now. And the population that is alive now is entitled to express grave concern. And if only by way of example, as to the government's financial habits, we recently would have heard of a $10 million radiation machine which was purchased, and a long time after its purchase, it remains inactive. So that if the people of this country need evidence of this government's financial imprudence, there is but not a small example, because there's nothing small about $10 million in equipment. And so, Your Honor, this country continues to labor under the financial imprudence of this government. These loans, I don't know when the work will begin. The Honourable Member, I don't believe, promised Barbadians when the work will begin. And if the Honourable Member did not tell Barbadians when the work will begin, he says he will get the loan. If he does not tell Barbadians when the work will begin, Barbadians will continue to believe that the monies derived from these loans do not find the destination that is promised. Here's another aspect to this transaction. The Honourable Member promised refurbishment and improvement to a number of medical facilities, and the Honourable Member called the names and said that these polyclinics would be included among the enhancements to be made. Now, I have accused this government of a failure to be transparent, a failure to be candid. Now, if the Honourable Member says that there are some polyclinics that are to be refurbished with monies derived from this loan, let the Honourable Member also say to Barbadians that government's plans in relation to the Oistins Polyclinic has nothing to do with refurbishment or renovation, whichever word you prefer. Let the Honourable Member confess to the people of Barbados that the plans at Oistins are identical to the whole town plans. That there is no plan to renovate Oistins. There's no plan to fix Oistins. There's a plan to relocate Oistins, to rebuild Oistins on the other side of the street. There's more to it, my friend. There's more to it. The whole town project, mired in controversy, is something of the prototype for the Oistins project. Is the Honourable Member intending to say to this Parliament that monies from this loan, I beg your pardon, is the Honourable Member intending to say to the public of Barbados that monies from this loan are going towards the rebuilding of Oistins. But I will remind the honorable member of what we were told some time ago. And I want the people of Barbados to know. And I want the people of Barbados to hear this. It is not only the East Coast that is heading towards controversy. Keep your eyes on Oistins. That we were told that there's a plan for a developer to come to Oistins and the present complex, the present civic center, including the library, the polyclinic, and the police station, will be taken by a developer who will also agree to build a new civic center on the other side of the road. What we are being told today sounds different. We were told that that new developer will undertake the cost for the project on the other side of the road, with which I say there is no difficulty conceptually, because it really amounts to using your land for its optimal value. And if tourism augments values on the coastline, we're a small country and we're trying our best to do our best. And if a civic center on a coastline amounts to less than optimal value in relation to the use of that land, we don't come here to obstruct progress or development. Of course, progress and development are often different things. But that's not the point today. The point today is that this country possibly was told, and certainly some of us were told, that a new developer will undertake the costs of the new Oistin Civic Center. Today we are being told that this loan will look after that cost. Something must be rotten in this Republican state of Barbados. Both cannot be true. But I do not accuse the honorable member for Christchurch East Central of misleading the people of this country. I don't think he intends to mislead the people of this country. If he had intended to mislead the people of this country, he would not have confessed that White Oak was on the last mission and that White Oak probably got a very handsome commission, like how they got a very handsome commission of $27 million to do a debt restructuring program that the honorable member for Christchurch East Central could have done himself for free. Something is always rotten in this Republican state of Barbados. He is far brighter than the White Oak crowd, far brighter. In fact, he is far brighter. I'll leave that alone. He knows what I mean. He knows what I mean. And I intended to compliment him. But while complimenting him, the work that he's sent to do is hardly ever worthy of compliment. Often abandoned by those who send him. And this Oistin's transaction, as I said, mirroring the whole town transaction, means that what was disclosed today cannot be accurate. And the people of this country are now demanding accuracy in this government's disclosures, not only as to the loans that it is taking, but importantly as to the use of the loans that it is taking. Too many people in this country have started to doubt that government is spending the monies derived from these loans in areas where they claim to be spending them. May I go back to the Harrison's Point Hospital? for which a loan of $120 million was taken from the European Investment Bank to permanently construct a new hospital that would benefit the people of the North, St. Lucie, St. Andrew, and St. Peter. What is the story today? Government. What is the story today? This is no joke. These are monies that have to be repaid by future generations. This is not about us today. I often say that. Our political endeavors have little to do with us. We're all over 40. Every one of us in here, even those who pretend to be under 40. All over 40. This is not for us. As I said earlier, you under 40? The exception is that you won't be here very soon. You asked for that. So, Your Honor, this is not about us. This is about the 15-year-old or the 25-year-old who will want to live as sweetly as you have for your adult life. These transactions are going to deprive him of that opportunity, sir. These transactions are going to deprive him of that opportunity. And these transactions become all the more suspicious based on government's record of a lack of candor, a lack of transparency, a lack of truth, even in relation to the destination of the monies taken from these loans. It is as serious as that. No joke. No joke. We can come in here and beat the stress by occasional laughter and a smile. But in that public domain, there's a lot of distrust. In that public domain, there's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of fear as to this country's future prospects. And when I speak of the country, I'm not talking about the landscape, I'm talking about the humanscape. Young people who are now fleeing this country in the wake of heavy indebtedness. A 25-year-old who will be called upon between the age of 25 and 40 to be part of a burden, or to be part of carrying a burden, while he is unable to purchase something more than a car. He can't live in his own house, and therefore he chooses emigration and leaves behind the kind of society described by the honorable member for St. Thomas earlier today when she said she has never seen a society. I'm going to end by quoting the honorable member for St. Thomas. I have never seen a society fall apart in this way. Things fall apart. Chinua Achebe, I think, wrote that book. The honorable member for St. Thomas wrote her own book today. Her own version of Things Fall Apart, and she laments the falling apart of this society. Maybe she'll be punished for it. Maybe she's too senior in the party now to endure any punishment, but I congratulate her. I congratulate her. And she will meet me in the corridor later and say a few words to me for having taken good notes of her speech, for which she received generous applause from those present. But I answer by saying that there is a discomfort in this country in relation to these loans, this time from the, and I don't wish to mislead the people of Barbados. Yes, this one is from the Saudi Fund for Development. The Saudi Fund for Development. I'm going to call on the honorable member for Christchurch East Central, who made a solemn promise that if he hears anything worthy of a response, he will so respond to it. I think the people of Barbados are entitled not only to hear of the fact of this loan, but if it is for development, please tell the people of Barbados when these development works will begin, or is this another empty promise made in relation to funds that are likely to disappear within the cracks of this society? Will it disappear? Please stand up when your turn comes, honorable member, and tell the people of Barbados when you expect these works to begin. The honorable member was extremely eloquent in articulating the various areas, Garden, Land, and Tweedside Road, and please tell them when these works will begin. Your Honor, you have been most patient. Your Honor, you have been most patient, and I am checking my notes to see if I have forgotten anything. I think, Your Honor, I have covered all that I intended to cover. Just to say to you, Your Honor, that we join, the opposition joins with the people of Barbados in opposing these frequent expeditions to international lending agencies to prop up a failing economy, that the time has come when this government must begin new investment into the local energies of the people of this country and try to generate incomes, not only private and personal incomes, but a national income, so as to repay the existing loans and to cease these frequent visits to international lending agencies to repay earlier loans. That is a financial sin. It is financial madness. And that financial madness was disclosed a few weeks ago when the people of this country discovered that we were taking a loan at 8% to repay a loan, an existing loan of 4%. That was the madness. And so the people are entitled to lose trust and confidence in this government's ability to competently manage the economy of this country. Your Honor, I'm obliged to you.